All right. Good morning, millionaires. Good morning, millionaires. I hope everybody's feeling incredible this morning. Um, your boy is feeling like he back in the States and whatnot. It was an incredible last 7 days. I appreciate Crystal for holding me down. I think Tammy helped out. Appreciate Simone Simmons, Earl the Pearl. Everybody that helped me out when I was gone. I appreciate all of y'all more than you'll ever know. Today, we're going to talk about 8 different ways that you can increase your persuasion or your influence. I'm about to call in on this live line. Let's get busy.
You have something special. You have greatness in you.
Facts.
Hello, this is Les Brown, and you're in the right place at the right time.
Facts.
Because we're going to bring the millionaire out of
Let's go. Make sure you share this training with somebody.
Please announce yourself.
Hold up.
All participants are muted.
That's what you call it, Jackie. You call it Try It Out Tuesday.
Entry and exit tones are off.
Yeah. My man Jackie Robinson know where we going with this training this morning because he recognizes in his profession that it's all about influence. It's all about your ability to persuade, right? A lot of times your work career is built upon your ability to influence either the management team or influence the clientele, right? Or your strength and your power as a guardian has a lot to do with whether you have more influence over them than their peer group. Your ability to improve, your ability to discipline yourself towards the direction that you know you want to be has a lot to do with whether you have more influence over yourself or whether you let environment, stimuli, circumstances have more power of persuasion and influence over you. Everything is about influence. And then there's something else that's really powerful about influence because the human mind, the way the human mind works, and if you're a Kaizen Academy student, then you know this already, the way the human mind works is if I give you influence in one category, then automatically my brain will kind of give you influence in everything else. Did you hear me? You should write that down. If the human brain gives influence to a person in one area, then automatically and subconsciously, it will begin to give influence out in virtually every other area. This is why we'll buy breakfast cereal because Michael Jordan is on the cover of the box, right? Or this is why we'll buy boxers from Hanes because Michael Jordan is endorsing them, right? Michael Jordan, what is he, a master of thread count and underwear? No. What is he, a nutritionist? Did he win the Nobel Peace Prize for knowing, what kind of breakfast cereal makes you No. But because he's good at basketball, we say, oh, well, it makes sense. He probably knows about underwear, right? And then we buy the underwear. Or imagine a doctor reaches out to us and wants us to join their company or whatnot. We give them influence over our lives, right? We're like, oh, they're a doctor. They know about the endocrine system and the glands and the circulation. So, of course, they know about business. No. A lot of doctors I know broke as hell. But what happens is because the human brain gives you influence over me in one area, because I notice you're influential, you got a certain level of je ne sais quoi in one level, I automatically give you influence in all these other areas. Am I making sense, Shakayla? Am I making sense, Corey? Yeah, good morning. So I'm sharing that with you so you understand, dang, P.O., let me do what I can to kind of add to my influence. What are some ways that I can begin to change the way I'm living my life, the way I'm projecting my energy, the way I'm presenting myself to the public so that I can increase my powers and influence, be it with my coworkers, be it with my team, be it with my clients and customers, be it with my children? How can I increase my powers of influence and persuasion? Y'all ready? I'm about to give you some tips that I think will help you. Maybe you've read a little bit of Robert Cialdini, where he talks about reciprocity and liking and the principle of consistency. Y'all know all of those. Y'all know all of those form the baseline for a lot of what we teach. But today I'm going to give you a little something different. We're going to talk a little bit more about how to apply that stuff in real life, right? How you can accelerate your career in real life, looking at your own life, right? I'm gonna give you a whole bunch of principles that are perception related, like 1 through 3. I give you are going to be people related. Then I'm going to give you some principles, a couple of them that are more like perception related, and then I'm going to give you a couple that are behavior related. All right. So this first one is one of the people related joints. Here's principle number 1: status. Status. Somebody say status is principle number 1, and then give me a share. Status. What do I mean by status? I don't care what culture you go to around the world. I'm talking about, I was just now obviously in Europe. So, I was struck by the same thing that I noticed in China, where you're told, oh, this is a communist country, or this is about to have like a bunch of crap going on here. And what you begin to discover is that you seeing Benzes everywhere. Like I think in my stories, I put up this one thing where it's like this whole taxi stand. But first I zoomed in on the Mercedes, right, and didn't let them see it was a taxi. Then I pulled back and it was like a whole caravan of Mercedes. Then I pulled back a little bit more, and you could see the taxi sign in front of them. Status is everywhere. You're walking through the airport. Everybody got on, Alexander McQueen or Balenci, or you know what I mean, all over the world. You go up in the train station. You see Kylie Jenner selling lip balm. You see Jennifer Lopez in lingerie all over the billboards in front of your kids. You know what I'm saying? All I'm saying is that it's all about status in every single culture. People who have higher status are always going to be given preferential treatment. Think about that. The ones who have status are always going to be the ones who get like some sort of preferential treatment. What can you do to step up the level of preferential treatment you're given? What can you do to step up the level of persuasion, so what I'm asking you to do with this principle is carefully consider how you present yourself, right? So for instance, if you're talking that talk, maybe you stay away from things that reduce your status. Like you're talking about a lack of experience you have, right? There are things you can do to share allegedly negative qualities that will increase your persuasion or increase your influence, but that's more like black belt level. Some of you have heard me talk about like how if I'm presenting, sometimes I might jump into the bad parts. Like if I'm talking all about how awesome an opportunity is or something, I might say something right while I'm talking about it. I might say something wild like, now the only drawback to this is that a lot of people be swearing this is a get rich quick scheme. This ain't no get rich quick scheme. You actually got to work. That's the only drawback. So I will throw things like that in there that may seem like it's lowering my status, but it's increasing my trust because they're like, oh, snap. He's actually willing to share with me the bad things. People don't do that a lot, right? So that just increased my status. What I'm saying is that you want to reframe everything so that you look bigger and more credible and more easily able to be trusted, not accentuating the qualities by and large that'll take you down that sliding scale. Am I making sense, everybody? So maybe for status, you're mentioning if your company has an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Maybe for status, you're mentioning if the CEO writes for Forbes. Maybe for status, you're mentioning if you hit the Inc. 5000 list a couple years in a row. Because all of this begins to do work on their mind that you can never do just talking about what the products do or what the services do. Am I making sense? Am I making sense, y'all? You got to plan this stuff out with intention. You can't just let the first words you say be the first words you thought of. Everybody could dig it. So the first one is status. The first one is status. The second one, y'all, is social imitation. Hold up, I'm gonna be right back. I gotta charge this computer, but write that down and then share it. Social imitation. All right, y'all. I don't know where my charger went. So if this ends abruptly, that's why. All right. I don't know what's up, y'all, with this charger situation. I have no idea what I did, y'all. That's very distressing. All right, we just gonna get it while we got it. You know what I mean? All right. So the second one was social limitation. Basically, what we're saying is that a lot of times our influence level is affected by the people that we hang around, right? A lot of times our influence level is affected by the people we hang around. Ah, dang, that felt so good. Like I was dying of thirst. All right, so social imitation, everybody. A lot of studies show that when people receive information about what somebody else did who was in the same situation they're in, it teaches us how to do it. You know, that's how stories work. I don't care if you're watching a cartoon, I don't care if you're watching a movie. Stories are the original form of edutainment, right? Because when we hear a character that we relate to do a certain thing a certain way, we're like, that's the way to do it. Even with reality TV, a lot of times what you'll notice is that there'll be a character on there you relate to. Like maybe there's the loud one, or maybe there's the one that's quiet, but they always got something real, you know what I mean, sharp to say to somebody. Maybe you like, oh, you know, I like her. She's kind of like me. Or, oh, that's my man right there. Well, you believe it or not, what entertains you trains you. Think about that. The stronger you are relating to whatever the character is going through, then the more powerful their influence, the more powerful the way they make decisions is going to influence you, right? The effect is going to be stronger the more you identify with that particular group or that particular person. Am I making sense? So if you want to influence a decision in a direction that you propose, then what you want to do is present the option in a way where it's clear to us that this is what most people like us do. Am I making sense? Am I making sense, y'all? That's social imitation. All right, here's the third one. Here's the third one, everybody. Affiliation. Affiliation. What do we mean by that? What we mean is that a lot of times we're influenced unconsciously by whether or not we feel like a person is like us, or we feel like a person is part of our in-group. Right? So what does that say? That says that when I'm speaking on stage, I want to be as multifaceted as possible. I want to be as multifaceted as possible. What do I mean? I mean, at the moment I say I'm a soccer dad, somebody out there in the audience who either is a soccer mom or a soccer dad is automatically going to relate to me. At the point I say I have 3 kids, somebody out there in the audience with any kids is going to say, oh, he's a parent like me. But if they have 3 kids, all of a sudden they're going to say, oh, they got 3 kids like me. They know how it goes out here, right? I'm making it so that I suddenly have the ability to kind of like, I suddenly have this ability to be able to wield more power, wield more influence, because you feel like we're alike. Same thing goes with joining fraternities and sororities. Same thing goes with being a world traveler. You know, it's amazing how I might be from DC. This other person over here might be from Peoria, Illinois. If we were here in America and this person's from Iowa and I'm from Atlanta, we're like, we barely even, but we both find ourselves in Switzerland, and all of a sudden it's like, neighbor, you know what I mean? America, you know, heck yeah. Y'all know that song, America, heck yeah. All I'm saying to you is that at the end of the day, that affiliation increases influence. We have friends in common. We got the same college in common. We got some goals in common. We have a group that we belong to in common. This can tip decisions in your favor. Am I making sense, everybody? Am I making sense? That feel good? Affiliation. Affiliation is number 3. Affiliation is number 3. Affiliation is number 3. Somebody give me that and then give me a share. Affiliation is number 3. Affiliation is number 3. You with me? All right. Now, these next ones I'm going to give you are more like perception related. Now we're going to talk about perception, right? So principle number 4 is what we call value framing. I don't want to scare you off. Value framing. Last night I was talking to one of my mentees, and they were telling me that how they'll follow up sometimes with a client is on that tip like, hey, you said you was going to enroll on Friday. And that's cool because they did say that, right? At least I'm holding them accountable. But what if I frame the value a little bit differently? Okay. What if I said it more like, hey, I know we talked about this Friday being a day that you were stepping in that direction of getting your children out of having to share that bedroom. I remember you were talking to me about how, you want to make this the last year you ever have to pay rent to somebody. I was just checking in on you. See, I frame the value a lot differently. Instead of me framing the value like this is a great solution, right? I instead say, man, this solution is going to save you months of stress. This solution is going to make your journey to home ownership so much easier. All of a sudden, you'll be able to take that extra energy and feed it into your babies. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to have the time to read them a bedtime story because that home that you're going to get is closer to the job where you work, et cetera, and so forth. I'm working all of that in because my goal is to frame the value. Because a lot of times what we do with the human brain is that we judge value in relative terms instead of absolute terms. What am I saying? I'm saying we judge value and how it compares to something else, not value for the sake of value. We don't care that this car is a $300,000 car until you make it clear to us that number means nothing. It's like the brain just can't do nothing with it until you compare that $300,000 car to this private jet, or you compare that $300,000 car to this $3,000 car. Then all of a sudden we're like, oh, that's a lot, or oh, that's really cheap. You got me? We do value in relative terms. So it's very important when you're presenting your information then that you're kicking it with them in terms that allow them to see the value in this, not just the benefits. See the value in this, not just some certain features it has. What is the value? And our definition of value is how much more willing you give, how much more you give than you're asking for in return. How much more you give than you're asking for in return. How much more you give to me that's relevant to my situation versus what you ask for in return. Am I making sense, everybody? Just feeling good? So that's the first one about perception, that whole thing about value framing. Here's the second one about perception. Principle number 5 is effort. Effort. If you want to increase your, that's right, Valerie, what entertains you trains you. Yeah, good morning, Queen. What's up, Wyona? All right, yeah, check it out. That's exactly right. Number 4 was value framing. Appreciate that, Corey. Appreciate that, Shakayla. Number 4 was value framing. Let's get it. Here's number 5, y'all. Here's number 5. Somebody say principle number 5 is effort, and then give me a share. Effort, and then give me a share. What do I mean? What I mean is that humans are globally programmed, almost like there's a switch in our brain. It's like, how can I get this done with the least amount of seconds or the least amount of calories burned, right? We're all programmed to get as much as possible for the absolute minimum amount of effort. So how can you become more influential? How can you tip decisions in your direction? If I want them to say no, all I got to do is make it hard. If I want them to say yes, all I got to do is make it as easy as possible. And a lot of times people will comply just because they want to be nice. They just want to be able to look at themselves as a good person. So effort is another way that I can influence. Is this making sense, Miss Victoria? Effort, y'all. All right, here's principle number 6, reasoning. Now, a lot of times we talk about how, people decide based on emotion and they justify with their reasoning. They justify with their logic, right? Studies show when people at work try to influence other people, the most common tactic is that they try to use rational persuasion, right? They try to provide logical reasons. But those same studies show this ain't effective. It's what most people do, but that's why most people are poor. You got me? So what do you need to do instead? You need to use your own reasoning, not try to make them use theirs. Use your own reasoning to come up with influential reasons that tap into their emotion. What would make somebody feel instead of think that this is a good choice? What would make them feel this is a good choice? In other words, instead of making them use logic, use your own logic that tells you emotion is more powerful than critical thinking skills in the minds of most people, and then present something that ties some emotion into it. Does that feel good to you? Principle number 7 is, I guess, kind of like well, first, let me make sure y'all got that. So principle number 6 was reasoning. Everybody got me? Principle number 6 was reasoning. Let's go. Principle number 6 was reasoning. Everybody wrote that down? Again, 1 through 3 were people related. 4 through 6 are perception related. And now I'm going to give you a couple that have to do with your behavior. Yes, number 6 was reasoning. I appreciate that. All right, here's number 7, y'all. Here's principle number 7. Everybody with me? Inertia. You remember that from physics? Inertia. What does inertia say? Objects at rest tend to stay at rest. Objects in motion tend to stay in motion. We could also call principle number 7 habits. If you're a member of the Kaizen Academy, you know that's one of our main sorts of concepts to push, to make you fall in love with. This idea that your habits are a huge indicator of your destiny. If you show me somebody's habits, I'll show you their future, right? So how does inertia work? A lot of times you get home, you got a specific sequence you rock, right? Maybe you come in, you put the keys over there on the table, you grab a drink out the refrigerator, you put your feet up on the coffee table, or, you sit in your lazy boy and the thing just reclines up and all of that. You grab the remote, the TV's on, boom, that's your evening. That's cool, but check it out. What we're seeing with that is like what Bruce Lee explained. A lot of times it's easier to go with the flow than fight against it. You got a certain flow. So if you want to be more influential, maybe what you need to do is figure out how your product or service fits in the flow with that person's daily activity, fits in the flow with that person's inertia. Instead of trying to go against the grain, maybe you find a way your product, your service, your level of reasoning, your level of empathy, your level of visionary ability fits right in line with where they were headed anyway, or where they want to head anyway. Am I making sense, y'all? As for yourself, if you want to have better influence on yourself with this inertia thing, then, like we talk about in that habits class, maybe what you do is change around your environment. Maybe so that you don't just get caught up in turning on the TV, maybe you take the batteries out the remote control. Well, now you're exhibiting influence over yourself. Because you've just given yourself an ability to respond instead of just react. Instead of just react and be caught up in your normal inertia, all of a sudden, right, you have the ability to think and influence yourself. We say external communication is influence. Internal communication is programming. Regardless, influence is the language of wealth. Influence is the language of wealth. Can somebody give me that in the comments and then give me a share? This is really important, y'all. Influence is the language of wealth. I just did a whole training a couple Sundays ago about how to become an authority in any industry, right? I think we went for about 2.5 hours, and I gave you nothing but ways for you to increase your influence, increase your ability to become an authority. I highly suggest everybody look at that training. I highly suggest you take notes and try to apply one thing this month. Or, if you real bad to the bone, then maybe you apply one thing this week. But here's the last one I got for you this morning. Here's number 8. End goal focus, y'all. End goal focus. Just imagine you a motorboat and you running down on fuel, but you're trying to make it to the shore. Well, obviously, going from side to side is going to mess you up. You're going to mess around and be floating in that ocean. You know what I mean? You're going to blow it. What do we need to do if we really want to make it to shore and our fuel is low? We need to, cut through the crap. We need to cut through we need to avoid right? Focus. Well, this is a heck of an analogy for your day, right? The more you waver from side to side, the less likely you are to reach that goal. This fuel analogy is highly relevant because what people don't recognize is that there's always a limited amount of fuel you got. You're limited. You cannot do it all. You just can't. So maybe you need to focus your energy, right? Maybe you need to focus on achieving one outcome, not trying to win every argument, right? Not trying to get everybody at the meeting converted to your, unless that was your end goal. I think it's this proverb from way back in the day that was like, the man who tries to catch 2 rabbits catches neither one, right? What we're saying is end goal focus. And another way this increases your persuasion, whether you're talking about over yourself or your persuasion over the masses, is that people are more apt to follow you when they see where you're going, when you share with them where you're going, when they can tell where you're headed. A lot of times, that's the power that people utilize to get more people to come along on their mission. They paint a mission, they paint a vision so big that other people can see their vision inside that vision, right? Millionaires, I dare you begin to share your end goal focus. When is the last time you were talking to a prospect, a client of some sort, and you kicked it with them like, hey, you know what? This is where I'm headed with this thing. How many of you have a clear statement about where you're going to be in 3 years with your particular business? Where you're going to be by this time next year with your business? You got me, Shakayla? Hey, Corey, when is the last time you was talking to a prospect and you were like, hey, man, I just want you to know in 3 years, I'm going to be here. And, I'm just looking for a few that want to ride with me. Who knows? You may even do better than me. Your vision may be bigger than mine. But I'm telling you, this is where I'm going to be. And you can set your watch by it. In 700 days, I'm going to be earning this much. Because we know once we got a system, all it takes is effort. How often do you share that with people, Valerie? How often do you share that with people? Shakayla, y'all with me? Y'all with me? All right, y'all. End goal focus. End goal focus. You with me? Let's go, Vanessa. End goal focus. How often do you share with people what your end goal is? All right, y'all. I hope this is helpful. Hey, Jackie, how often do you share with people, I intend on being the number one, in this city, in this state, in this region, in this country? I'm telling y'all, there's magic in that. There's magic in that. All right, I hope this is helpful, y'all. All right, we out of here. It's affirmation time. Hopefully you join the newsletter and all of that. Give me stars. All that stuff. All right, it's affirmation time. Let's get it. Repeat it after me. Say it like you mean it. Here we go. I am so happy and grateful